Hello and welcome to our Active Supervision Teacher Webinar brought to you by Matrix Early Head Start Child Care Partnership. My name is Andrea Brown. I'm the Education Manager.
Hi, my name is Charlotte Brown and I'm a Child Development Specialist.
Hello, I'm Paris Hayes and I'm also a Child Development Specialist.
Okay, so in this training, participants will increase their understanding of the importance of a program-wide approach that prioritizes children's safety. And we will also explore resources and strategies grantees can use to reduce the risk of injury to enrolled children. So a child's safety depends on adults being aware of where every child is at all times. It also depends on their ability to respond quickly to prevent injury by removing any hazards in the environment and intervening to protect a young child who is still learning how to judge what is safe to do. Supervising children at all times is challenging because there are multiple transitions throughout the course of the day. Active supervision can help grantee staff plan effective ways to supervise groups of children when they move from one place to another within a classroom or center, for example, as they arrive, go outside for outdoor play or on a field trip in the community, or when they leave to go home at the end of the day. Head Start monitoring data indicate that teachers need to be especially vigilant during transitions as children are more likely to be left unattended during transitions that occur at any time during the day. Here are the Head Start performance standards that pertain to active supervision. Head Start performance standards subpart D, Health Program Services 1302.47a. A group must establish, train staff on, implement and enforce a system of health and safety practices that ensure children are kept safe at all times. Head Start Performance Standards Subpart D, Health Program Services 1302.47B53, Safety Practices. All staff and consultants follow appropriate practices to keep children safe, including during all activities, including at a minimum, appropriate indoor and outdoor supervision of children at all times. And Head Start Performance Standards Subpart I, Human Resources Management 1302.90, Personnel Policies C15, Standards of Conduct. A program must ensure all staff, consultants, contractors, and volunteers abide by program standards of conduct that ensure no child is left alone or unsupervised by staff, consultants, contractors, or volunteers while under their care. Some of the research-informed guidance that defines effective supervisory practices comes from Caring for Our Children, the National Health and Safety Performance Standards, Guidelines for Early Care and Education Programs, 3rd edition. Their recommendations can help grantee staff to think through some of the specific actions that teachers can take to make sure children in their care are always well supervised. According to Caring for Our Children, active and positive supervision involves knowing each child's abilities, establishing clear and simple safety rules, being aware of and scanning for potential safety hazards, standing in a strategic position, scanning play activities and circulating around the area, focusing on the positive rather than the negative to teach a child what is safe for the child and other children, and teaching children the appropriate and safe use of each piece of equipment. Active supervision offers practical strategies that build on CFOC3's description of effective child supervision to create safe environments for all children birth to age 5. To the extent possible, staff position themselves close to children especially in infant settings. Repetitive systems for scanning, counting, and listening once young children become mobile help staff engage in responsive caregiving and support their learning while keeping track of where children are. Finally, staff's nurturing relationships with children help staff anticipate when to engage and redirect in a child in their care. Children are served in early Head Start and child care programs in a variety of settings. Some children receive services in center-based programs, others in family child care homes, and others through home-based or home visiting services. Children in group care settings may be placed with children of similar ages and stages, while others may be placed in mixed age groupings. It is important that staff working in each of these settings use the active supervision strategies with an eye to their individual program design.
What is active supervision? Young children are more likely to get injured when they are left unattended. Active supervision is a child supervision technique that is used in child care and early education programs throughout the world. It requires focused attention and intentional observation of children at all times. Active supervision offers effective strategies for adults to look, listen, and engage to prevent childhood injuries. Adults position themselves so they can observe all of the children, watching, counting, and listening at all times. They use their knowledge of each child's development and abilities to anticipate what children will do. If needed, they get involved and redirect children when necessary. This constant vigilance helps children learn safely because teachers and caregivers are able to protect them from most injuries. Staff who are trained in and always practice active supervision can prevent this from happening. The term educator in the active supervision fact sheet refers to all teachers and infant toddler caregivers, as well as any adult who is in a supervisory role responsible for children in the program. Now we're going to prepare to watch an example of active supervision.
Today we're going to play a game specifically designed to test your spatial awareness. Meet the Brain Games Double Dutch team. Now, what does jumping rope have to do with the brain? Well, Double Dutch requires off-the-chart spatial awareness. And today, these kids are going to help us test yours. For this game, all you have to do is keep track of the number of times that either of the girls in green jumps. You'll count each time one of them lands a jump, like this.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
As you can see, these jumpers are pretty quick on their feet, so you're going to have to pay attention to keep up. When the whistle blows, start counting. Ready? Go. So, how many jumps did the green team make? Did you say 38? If so, you agreed with 40% of our test audience. Now, some of you may be onto us, but for those of you who aren't, did you happen to notice anything else going on during the Double Dutch? Maybe a giant chicken strolling right through the middle of the set and doing a funky chicken dance? Now, some of you may have missed that funky chicken, but many of you probably saw it, and that's okay. Because the chicken was just there to distract you too. Here's the real question. What color was the wall behind the Double Dutch game? Here's a hint. It wasn't the same color at the end as it was when they started jumping. The back wall was changing color the entire time, from bright blue to bright red. Nearly everyone misses it. But why? It turns out there's far too much information coming in through the eyes at any given moment for the brain to fully process all of it. As a result, the brain has to act like a spotlight, focusing our attention on some parts of the scene but not others. Now, most of you were probably paying attention to the jumpers, and some of you may have suspected that something strange was going to happen, and so you saw the chicken. But you probably weren't paying attention to the back wall. And what we don't pay attention to, we don't see. And hey, for those of you who managed to catch everything so far, did you notice that we also swapped the rope turners out halfway through? Gotcha.
This video was an excellent example of active supervision. It can be difficult to stay vigilant. Staff can be distracted by problems at home, a bad night's sleep, or children with challenging behavior. To ensure effective attention management when scanning and counting, teachers need support as everyone makes mistakes, and sometimes we see what we expect to see. We can miss what is unexpected yet critical to notice. This is why, to be effective, active supervision needs to be a team effort. And in programs that encourage a culture of safety, everyone works together to make this happen. Now we're going to go over the 6 steps to active supervision. Step number 1, set up the environment. Step 2, position staff. Step 3, scan and count. Step 4, listen. Step 5, anticipate children's behavior. And step 6, engage and redirect. We will discuss each strategy one by one. These strategies are intended to be used together. These strategies can transform what some may consider a passive skill of how to observe children and make it an active, intentional skill with specific steps for how to supervise children effectively. These skills build on each other to help keep children safe by making sure that you can observe everything that's happening and take action when needed. Step 1, set up the environment. The environment should have child-sized furniture. It should be free of clutter, have large areas for active play, and clear pathways. Setting up the environment includes the layout of the room, as well as the selection of equipment and materials in the room. Early childhood environments are not static environments. Once adults and children enter the room, the environment constantly changes. In order to keep the environment safe and secure when children are present, staff must monitor and maintain hazard-free spaces. The layout of the room must allow the staff to see and hear children at all times. Notice on the picture, the child playing on the large carpet. You have one teacher at one area with a group of children, and you have a teacher in another area with a group of children. The teacher closest to the window cannot see the child over the shelf playing on the carpet, but the teacher closest to the door can. So they position themselves to be able to see all children at all times. Centers are set up that they do not interfere with each other and allow staff to observe multiple centers at once. The items on the floor are developmental appropriate, and furniture and toys are in good repair. Items in the room are placed appropriately to allow room for floor time and play away from walkways. Setting up the environment is especially important in mixed age groupings with young and mobile infants or infants and toddlers. In order to create space for tummy time for young infants, designate separate areas for young infants away from areas for mobile infants and toddlers to engage in active play. Notice the light toys on the shelf, the dinosaurs. They are kept on the top. It is best to keep heavy toys on the bottom shelves in case a child drops them. And that's best for nap time. If you place a child next to a shelf, make sure that the heavy objects are below and smaller objects and light objects are on top, just in case they happen to fall off the shelf. Next step is position staff. Staff should be positioned so they can see and hear all children, stay within easy reach, and be able to attend to children who may need additional support. Staff position themselves so that children can be seen and heard, and staff can reach a child quickly if needed. They also position themselves to manage classroom tasks so that these responsibilities don't interfere with anyone's ability to observe and effectively supervise the children. For example, staff may position themselves closer to a child who is struggling with language or keeping her hands to herself. On the playground, this may include deciding where to position staff so an adult can see and hear the children and reach a child easily who may need assistance. During nap time, teachers need to position themselves where they have a global view of all children. During nap time, cots may be placed in open areas in the classroom. Cots cannot be placed in areas where children cannot be seen, for example, behind shelving units. During nap time, the ratio should be 2 teachers for every 8 children at all times, no exceptions. During outside play with children, staff should position themselves to where they are able to view all children. Staff should not be seated or in the same area with one another. The next step, scan and count. Staff need to scan and count children consistently so that they always know how many children there are and where they are. Teachers must know how many children are in their care at all times. Teachers must count the kids before leaving the room, when arriving at their destination, and upon returning to the room. Transitions must be documented on the Active Supervision log. If transitioning within the center, or the outdoor playground log if transitioning outdoor to the outdoor play area. Excuse me. Think about some challenges you may encounter when children are transitioning in and out the room and how they move about during the course of the day. Reach out to your child development specialist for further support on transitions. Next step is to listen. Listen for specific sounds, listen to absence of sounds, and strategize. While scanning and counting provides visual cues in your environment, staff also need to listen carefully when they are with children. Sometimes a specific noise or even silence can indicate that there is a problem or someone is in danger. Being alert means being able to determine what sounds are expected and which ones may be a signal and which ones may signal an indication of trouble, such as a child who is becoming frustrated. You can place a bell on your classroom door, which can alert staff to children who may like to run out of the classroom. Anticipate. Know children's individual interests and skills, recognize challenges, and offer support. Anticipate children's behavior allows staff to determine which children may need more attention and support at any given time. Anticipating how to engage children in activities or in centers makes it easier for staff to anticipate and plan ahead for all possibilities. For example, if a staff thinks a lot of children will want to use the Play-Doh activity at the same time, they can set up an environment to encourage turn taking. For example, using tickets for how many children can be at the center at one time, and plan other activities that are engaging for children who are waiting their turn. Or a newly mobile child is using climbing equipment in the playground, so staff will want to stay within arm's reach to prevent the child from falling. As discussed, one of more recent research studies on active supervision found that an adult's proximity to a child is one of the most effective ways to prevent injuries. Engage and redirect. Promote problem solving, tailor assistance, provide alternative choices. Ultimately, there are times when children may need staff to engage and redirect them. It is essential for staff to know the children in their care and to be able to individualize for each child. Partnering with families will help staff learn more about their child. This allows both staff and families to share ideas about simple but effective steps to keep children safe. Educators can quickly intervene prior to problems arising by promoting skills and helping the child with limited language skills to communicate his or her needs, or a child who is struggling with turn taking, learn how to share with friends. In addition to supporting a child's development and learning needs, staff can decrease children's challenging behaviors by helping children to problem solve and intervening by providing positive behavior supports. Teach children and their families about safety. Educate children about safety as it relates to transportation safety, pedestrian safety, and what to do in case of an emergency. Also educate their families about pedestrian safety, transportation safety, hazard identification, and supervision. Staff can partner with families to prevent injuries by helping them to recognize and eliminate hazards in their home. For example, you can educate families about safety hazards, complete home safety checks together, and discuss safe routines. We know at home, safety is an important element of the home visiting and family engagement relationship. Some families need support in acquiring the resources to eliminate hazards, obtain safety equipment, or learn active supervision strategies. When families have the information and resources they need, they can often prevent many injuries at home. Some families may feel that injury prevention is beyond their reach and may not feel empowered to prevent injuries or remove hazards from their home. Staff can use their knowledge of injury prevention and how to find community resources to help families access safety equipment and advocate for a safer living condition. Here is the active supervision procedure. This chart should be this chart should be posted in every CCP classroom. If you happen not to have one posted in your classroom, please reach out to your child development specialist so they can be able to get you one.
Now let's take a look at the active supervision logs you will be using in your classroom. The first one is our active supervision classroom log. This log is to be used whenever children are transitioning out of their classroom, but inside the building. For example, the child or children may be going to the bathroom or to an indoor gross motor area. Before using this log, please write your provider's name at the top. When completing this log, include the date, the classroom teacher or teachers transitioning the child or children, the time you leave the classroom, the number of children you are transitioning out of the classroom, your destination, the length of time you expect to be gone, the time you arrive back into the classroom, and the number of children you are transitioning back into your classroom. The second is the walking field trip outdoor playground log. Please note, this log has been updated with a change in color from white to yellow. This log is to be used whenever whenever children are transitioning outside of the building to either a walking field trip or on the playground. Before using this log, please write your provider's name at the top. When completing this log, include the date, the classroom teacher or teachers transitioning the children, the time you leave the classroom, the number of children you are transitioning out of the classroom, your destination and your route, the phone numbers of the teachers, the length of time you expect to be gone, the time you arrive back into the classroom, and the number of children you are transitioning back into the classroom. Please remember to take a first aid kit and the child information records when leaving the building. Now let's watch a demonstration on how to use active supervision in your classroom.
Hi, I'm here to demonstrate active supervision and how it should be used in your classroom. Each classroom has a red folder, and inside the red folder is an active supervision classroom log, as well as a walking field trip outdoor playground log. You also have a whiteboard with letter links for each child in your classroom. Each teacher should also have a coil wristband, which you will place the letter links on whenever transitioning children out of your classroom. When teachers arrive to school in the morning, they will make sure that all children's letter links are placed under absent. As your children begin to arrive, those letter links will then be moved to present. So we have Lisa and Paris who are present. When a transition is getting ready to occur, the teacher will remove the appropriate letter link of the child or children who are transitioning out of the classroom. The teacher will then look at the letter link to make sure that is the child that is transitioning out of the classroom. Paris is transitioning out of the classroom. I have one child transitioning out of the classroom. Teachers will then place that letter link on their bracelet and place the bracelet on their wrist. You will then update your active supervision classroom log or your walking field trip outdoor playground log. When you reach your destination with your children or child, you will ensure that all children are accounted for by looking at your letter link and identifying the children who you have transitioned to this destination. I have one child, and her name is Paris, and we transition. Before leaving your destination, you will also count again to ensure that you have all children or the child you transitioned out of the classroom with. You will count to make sure you have the number of children you left the classroom with. Once returning back to your classroom with the children or child, you will then count once again. Paris is back into the classroom. You will take Paris' letter link off your wrist, your bracelet, and you will place her letter link back on the whiteboard under present. You will then update the appropriate log with the time you returned and the number of children you returned with. I returned with one child. I transitioned one child out of the classroom. Also, remember that when transitioning children onto the playground, to take all absent children letter links with you. Those letter links can then be placed in your apron. This will ensure that you have children's letter links should they arrive to school late. If this happens, you will take the letter link of the child who has come to school late and place it on your wristband along with the present children. When you transition your children back into the classroom, you will be sure to update your log with the appropriate number of children. This concludes our demonstration.
Okay, and here are some helpful resources that you can use for learning more about active supervision. Here is the Active Supervision Toolkit. It is located in your education binder, and you can download the Caring for Our Children document for your review. And you can also visit the Active Supervision page on the eClick website. For any questions regarding supervision, you can contact myself, or you can reach out to the child development specialist assigned to your center. And thank you for joining us, and have a great day.